In the heart of Korean folklore lies a spectral presence that chills the bones and lingers in the mind, the Gwishin. Known as ghost women, they are the restless spirits of those who died with deep sorrow, unfulfilled vengeance, or unspeakable trauma. These spirits are not just remnants of the dead, they are the embodiment of unresolved emotion, often appearing as pale women dressed in white hanbok, with long black hair obscuring their faces. But behind their silence lies centuries of whispered legends, cautionary tales, and real-life encounters passed down through generations. Gwishin are most commonly female because of the social and cultural history of Korea, where women historically had fewer opportunities to express grievances or escape injustice. Many died young, unmarried, or betrayed, leaving them tethered to the world by grief or rage. These spirits, unable to transition into the afterlife peacefully, remain among the living. They are seen on school grounds, in hospitals, near staircases, or even beside rivers where they may have met their tragic end. A common thread in Gwishin stories is injustice. Unlike Western ghosts, who may return for various reasons, Gwishin are born from a need for resolution. Some seek revenge on those who wronged them. Others simply cannot let go of the life they lost. In many stories, these spirits are portrayed as tragic more than evil, though this doesn't make them any less terrifying. A Gwishin doesn't chase you like a monster. She waits, watches, and instills fear through her presence. Her silence speaks louder than screams. One of the most iconic forms is the Cheonyo Gwishin, the virgin ghost. According to Korean tradition, a woman who dies unmarried may become a Cheonyo Gwishin. Since she did not fulfill her traditional duties in life, she remains in the world of the living. These ghosts are often seen in white hanbok, hair flowing, feet floating just above the ground. They haunt empty rooms, hallways, and bathrooms. It is said that they often appear around young women, drawn to those who still have what they lost. There are also stories of hospital Gwishin, spirits of patients who died violently or without closure. Nurses and doctors in Korea have recounted tales of cold spots in empty hospital wings, wheelchairs moving on their own, or ghostly figures appearing in security footage. In one famous account, a Gwishin was said to roam the halls of an old hospital wing, weeping every night at the hour of her death. Despite the wing being sealed off, the sounds of sobbing persisted. Another haunting variation is the toilet ghost, sometimes considered a branch of the Gwishin mythos. Though often shared as an urban legend among school children, it echoes deeper folklore. A female ghost appears in a school bathroom, often in the last stall. She may ask questions like, "Which color do you want, red or blue?" Depending on the answer, a gruesome fate awaits. These stories, while fantastical, reflect a cultural anxiety tied to adolescence, shame, and the pressure of conformity. The rooftop Gwishin is yet another iteration spirits of students who took their own lives or suffered untimely deaths. Rooftops in Korean schools are often locked, yet tales persist of students hearing footsteps above or seeing a figure peering down from the edge. These Gwishin are not malicious, but tragic. They serve as grim reminders of real societal issues like academic pressure and bullying. The presence of Gwishin is often marked by a sudden drop in temperature, the flicker of lights, or an unexplainable sense of being watched. Some people report smelling incense or decay before an encounter. Others describe sleep paralysis or waking up to see a ghostly woman standing at the foot of their bed. These experiences aren't confined to the superstitious, they're reported by everyday people, from school teachers to office workers. Despite the fear they inspire, Gwishin are not invincible. Some believe that proper rituals can release them. Shamanistic ceremonies, known as gut, are sometimes performed to help a troubled spirit pass on. Offerings of food, clothing, and prayer may help them find peace. But there are also tales of Gwishin rejecting these efforts of spirits, so consumed by rage or sorrow that no ritual can soothe them. In modern Korean media, Gwishin have become cultural icons. They appear in horror films, dramas, webtoons, and even commercials. Movies like Whispering Corridors and A Tale of Two Sisters brought Gwishin legends to the big screen, often drawing on real ghost stories from schools or rural areas. The image of the pale, long-haired ghost has become a visual shorthand for dread in Korean pop culture. Yet, the Gwishin is more than a trope. She is a mirror reflecting societal wounds. Her stories often arise from real tragedies, domestic abuse, suicide, injustice. Through her, Korea processes its collective grief. And in a culture that traditionally values emotional restraint, the Gwishin is an explosion of repressed feeling. She cries when the living cannot. She rages when the victim had no voice. She haunts because she was never truly seen. There are those who claim to have seen a Gwishin, the restless spirit of the wronged and the forgotten. In Korean folklore, these are not your typical ghosts. They are echoes of sorrow, lingering remnants of injustice, and reminders that the past is never truly buried. Their presence is not always loud. It begins in whispers, a cold spot in a warm room, a flicker of light with no explanation, the sensation that you're not alone, even when you know you are. One man, a skeptic by nature, once recalled visiting an abandoned apartment building in Busan during a business trip. It was a structure long forgotten by time, surrounded by overgrown weeds and sagging power lines. He had heard rumors, nothing concrete, just the kind of urban myths that cling to places like that. But he was curious. He stepped inside. The air was stale, heavy, like it hadn't been disturbed in years. As he climbed the narrow stairwell, his footsteps echoed against the cracked concrete, and then he heard another pair behind him. Soft, slow, mimicking his own rhythm, but just slightly off. Every time he paused, so did they. When he turned around, there was nothing, no one. Just the dim hallway stretching behind him like an endless corridor. On the top floor, a single overhead light flickered erratically. Beneath it, near the broken window, stood a woman in white. Her back was to him. Her long black hair fell like a curtain, concealing her face. She didn't move, didn't flinch, yet the silence screamed. Without waiting to see more, he fled, not daring to look back. He said nothing for years, but he still dreams of that moment, the flickering light, the stillness, the unbearable sense of being watched. Others tell stories from the countryside, in isolated villages surrounded by forest and farmland. Families speak of homes that suddenly grew unlivable, strange knocks at night, utensils flying across the room, sobbing coming from behind locked doors, or ghostly faces appearing in the mirrors. Entire households have relocated, abandoning the homes they once loved because the energy became too heavy, too consuming. Even the most skeptical of neighbors eventually admit some places are different. They carry something with them, a presence that can't be explained or reasoned with. And in Korea, that presence often has a name, Gwishin. But these tales aren't told merely to entertain. In Korean culture, they serve as a warning. Children grow up hearing about the Gwishin not just to scare them, but to teach them. To remind them that the dead must be honored, that suffering cannot be ignored, and that tragedy unspoken will never fade. These are not just ghost stories. They are cautionary tales rooted in truth. Stories passed from parent to child to keep the memory of the lost alive. Because at the heart of every Gwishin tale lies heartbreak. They are rarely evil for the sake of it. Instead, they are victims of betrayal, abuse, violence, or neglect. They are the daughters who took their own lives after being shamed, the patients who died in understaffed, forgotten hospitals, the students who were bullied until they vanished, the women forced into silence, the workers crushed by labor and ignored by society. Their pain didn't end with death. It lingered, transformed, and took shape. The Gwishin are more than ghosts. They're echoes of injustice, voices silenced in life. They don't just haunt places, they haunt memory, guilt, and silence. They wait in hospitals, schools, tunnels watching. If you're ever alone late at night and feel a chill or see a figure in white, don't look back. Because once you see her face, she may follow you home. Not to harm, but to be heard. She lingers. Once like you, alive, ignored, and forgotten. Her pain silenced, her story untold. The Gwishin do not forget. They do not forgive, and they do not rest. Peace was never granted to them, it was stolen, ripped away by cruelty, neglect, or indifference. Now they linger, in the silence between footsteps, in the flicker of a hallway light, in the mirror, just behind your reflection, in the dark corner of a room you thought was empty. You may only feel the chill, sense the eyes, hear the whisper, but they are there, always, waiting, watching, hoping someone will finally understand, hoping someone will remember. Until then, the Gwishin remain not as evil, but as pain that never died.